Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, you're a new boxing fan. You've somehow become a fan of the sport of boxing. Maybe you saw Canelo Alvarez fight. Maybe you saw a big heavyweight fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Maybe you got here because you're a Pacquiao fan. But however you got to becoming a boxing fan, in this video we're gonna address why I think you should follow the smaller weight classes. Now, when you say smaller weight classes, Brendan, when you say smaller weight classes, BT, who and what weight classes are you referring to? And the weight class that I'm particularly referring to as small weight classes, or the smaller weight classes, is anything from the bantamweight division on down. Okay? Now, these are weight classes in boxing that don't normally get a lot of attention from mainstream media, nor do they get a lot of attention from boxing promoters. But I think if you're a boxing fan, if you're looking for the most action, and if you're looking for some of the best fights and some of the most scintillating action in all of boxing, you should be following weight classes that low. A weight class in particular, I think every boxing fan at this moment in time should be following is the super flyweight division. 115-pound division, super flyweight division, because I would argue there's no division in boxing that has as much pound for pound, elite top level talent than this division. There's so many great matches to be made in the super flyweight division. You have guys like my favorite fighter of all time, a guy by the name of Roman Cholatito Gonzalez. He's an amazing fighter, probably arguably the greatest fighter in the history of the great country of Nicaragua. You have him. You have Juan Francisco Estrada, another amazing fighter, Mexican fighter, a great counterpuncher, very fun to watch. You have the likes of Sisrikitso Rungbasai from Thailand, just an absolute savage, and he punches like a mule. You have Kosi Tanaka, a Japanese fighter who has already become a three-division world champion at the age of 24. He's the youngest world champion in the history of Japanese boxing, and he's someone that is going to be a major factor in this division. You have his countryman Kazuto Ioka, who's a fantastic fighter in his own right. You have there's so many fighters. Who else is there? I know I'm missing somebody. I named you most of the guys that you need to know: Kosi Tanaka, Roman Gonzalez, Gallo Estrada. You have Carlos Cuadras, another good Mexican fighter who's still around. So look, these divisions are great, and the reason I think you guys should follow the small weight classes, particularly the super flyweight division, is because of the fact that there's not as much money to go around in these weight classes. So like, take for example, in the heavyweight division, there's a lot of money. And in the welterweight division, there's a lot of money. So in these weight classes, fighters can kind of, what they call in boxing, marinate fights, and allow these fights to not happen for a certain amount of time, so that you can drum up more interest as fans begin to talk about these fights more and more often on social media, on YouTube, on all kinds of platforms. And because of this, sometimes they delay the fight, they delay the gratification of the instant payday, and the payday they get later on is actually bigger than they would have got it when the public first demanded it. A good example of that would be Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. People wanted to see that fight in 2009 and 2010. They fought in 2015, and they both made career high paydays. I think they made upwards of $100 million plus, whatever it was. It was one of the biggest fights in boxing history in terms of revenue and things like that generated. But in these weight classes, the good thing about it is that the fighters seldomly ever see $1 million paydays. It's rare. I think the last time we had a fighter in these weight classes get $1 million payday, you would have to go back all the way to the early 1990s, when you had a fighter by the name of Michael Los Manos de Piedras Michael Carbajal. He fought Chiquita Gonzalez in 1992 or 91, something like that, and he made the first ever $1 million payday. And since then, I think the highest has been Roman Cholatito Gonzalez made $750,000 or something like that in the rematch against Rungbasai. You're not making those multi-million-dollar paydays in these weight classes. So the fighters, they can't necessarily delay the fights, because then the fights won't be as big, and they have to take the fights. They had to take these fights immediately, and because of that, you get a lot of big time fights in these weight classes between the best fighters fighting the best. It's very rare in the small weight classes that you don't see one top guy fight the other. They have to fight each other, and because of that, you get a lot of great fights every year. It doesn't matter. If we look at the last 4 years of boxing in these weight classes or around these weights, we've gotten a lot of great fights, from Roman Gonzalez versus Carlos Cuadras to Juan Francisco Estrada versus Carlos Cuadras to Rungbasai versus Roman Gonzalez 1 and 2 to Kosi Tanaka You know, Naoya Inoue versus Nonito Donaire is another one. You know, there's been a lot of great fights in these weight classes, and you know, sometimes I'll say this: these guys might not be as big as the heavyweights, and they might not hit as hard as the heavyweights, and that's fair enough. You know, some people want to see. I know most people don't want to see two people that are 5'4", 5'5", 5'6", throwing thousands of punches and not knocking nobody out. Some people don't think that's exciting. And fair enough. You know, everybody has their own taste. Tastes like, you know, boxing is a lot like food. You know, I might like pumpkin pie. You might like blueberry pie. We both like pie. You know, so you might like the heavyweight boxers only or the welterweight boxers only, and I might like all the boxing. I might like all of it. So everybody has their own preferences. We're not knocking nobody. I'm just encouraging the new boxing fans to follow these weight classes, because some of the most talented fighters in boxing are in around these weights. You know, another guy I mentioned briefly was a guy by the name of Naoya the Monster Inoue, and he's from Japan, and you know, he's what, a three-division champion. He's won a world title. He won a world title in his 7th professional fight. He won his second world title in his 9th professional fight in the second weight division. And he has an amazing style. You know, he was just in the 2019 Fight of the Year with Nonito Donaire in the World Boxing Super Series final, which is a big tournament they do in boxing. So there's so much talent just oozing from these weight classes. There aren't a ton of American fighters in these weight classes. You know, these weight classes tend to not have many Americans in them. I mean, the last great American fighter in these weight classes, to find that, you would probably need to go all the way back to the days of Mark Too Sharp Johnson. But it doesn't really matter. There's so many fantastic fighters in this weight class, and you're always going to get great fights. You're always going to get great action, and you're always going to get the best fighting the best. And at the end of the day in boxing, I don't care if we're talking about the heavyweight division. I don't care if we're talking about the welterweight division. Ultimately, you want to see the best fighters fighting each other. And a lot of times, you know, you got to separate boxing the sport from boxing the business. Boxing the sport is amazing, but boxing the business sometimes gets in the way of boxing the sport. But in these weight classes, it doesn't happen nearly as much. You know, boxing the sport and boxing the business almost become one when you talk about the smaller weight classes, because there's not as much money available to these guys, so they don't have the right or the opportunities to be divas and delay the fights for bigger paydays down the road. You see what I'm saying? But these fighters are amazing because, you know, you get these fighters that are throwing thousands of punches. You know, in the cases of guys like Roman Gonzalez or Naoya the Monster Inoue or Sisra Rungvisai, these guys are throwing so many punches, like the other fighters in the division, but they're doing it with a lot of punching power, and they're knocking these guys out, and they're giving you devastating knockouts. And it's almost crazy to see somebody who's 5'4", 5'5", 5'6", knocking somebody out in devastating fashion with one punch. You know, it really is something to behold when you do get a great flyweight or super flyweight or bantamweight fighter who's knocking somebody out with one punch, like your Inouye's, like your Chocolatito Gonzalez, like your Rungvisai. So it's definitely something you want to check out if you're a new boxing fan. If you're a new boxing fan and somehow you manage to come across this video, or if you're a casual boxing fan and you come across this video and you're not exactly sure, you know, where to start with these small weight classes, these bantamweights, these flyweights, these super flyweights, guys like that, fighters like that, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll give you some fight recommendations if you want any down below. But let me know what you guys think about what I said about the smaller weight classes. If you have any questions, make sure don't hesitate to ask. Take the time to subscribe, and like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.